Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Art of MMA. I'm your host, Mike Ginn. Joining me as always, I'm talking about professional kickboxer, the mechanic, Brandon Cuttino. Brandon, how you feeling?
I'm good, man. It's AJ Styles' birthday, so I want to wish the phenomenal one a happy birthday. Greatest wrestler alive right now. Exactly. P1's out here.
And also joining us once again from Cage My IQ, I'm talking about Dan Bakley. How you feeling, Dan?
Feeling good.
All right, awesome to have you back. Now you're one of the crew. I'll still give you a chance to promo your show at the end, but good to have you back. Not much to talk about this week, so I'm pretty sure this is the episode that I get Brandon to quit. We're going to be talking about a lot of bare knuckle stuff. Obviously, we're going to be talking about Jake Paul, so that means this will either be the highest rated show in history or the worst rated show in history. Knowing our fans, they'll probably already tuned out once I said that. We'll be talking about some regional action, what happened last weekend with CFFC. And then we'll be looking ahead to UFC Vegas 28 this weekend. Rozenstruik's back in action in the main event. But before we get to any of that, let's get some business out of the way. You see Brandon rocking the brand new Kevin Randleman. He's got it in blue. I got my Bruce Lee shirt. I know Dan ordered a couple shirts as well, which he loves. We already posted that on social media. Right above us, artofmma.com/shop. That's the business at hand. Promo code, just to piss Brandon off this week, is Knuckles. I'm just kidding. Brandon's not that concerned about it. But we like to have fun here. Promo code Knuckles. Go and save yourself 20% this week only. Every promo code's only for the week. We want to know that you're watching the episodes. One other quick note, kind of unrelated, and I know people hate when we get off MMA. Brandon. people don't like when we talk MMA. A couple things. I just launched another store. It's my new baby, Mike Fresh. You can go MikeXFresh.com. The link will be below. The cool thing you might actually care about, not only is there a ton of dope designs, I just launched a new gangster series with people like Pablo Escobar, John Gotti, Al Capone. I got a bunch of graphic tees. I got some awesome original designs as well, including the Stay Humble line. But I'm also doing some dope collabs, including one with Art of MMA. So you can get these same legendary shirts, the Bruce Lee, the Hoist Gracie, and the Kevin Randleman, all in vintage 50/50 premium material. You can't beat that. They're a little bit more pricier because they cost a lot more to make. But you can still use the promo code I have on social media. So go to Mike X Fresh on any of your social media. There is a promo code sitting right there. Use that and you can save 20%. I just want to send you guys on a goose chase because I wanted you guys to click and like my stuff. And lastly, before we jump into the news, Brandon, what are they supposed to do with each video?
Like and subscribe and leave a comment. Let us know what you guys are thinking.
Absolutely. Click that like button below, click the subscribe, and hit that little bell so you never miss another episode. All right, guys, let's get into the news. First and foremost, the subject that will never go away. It's funny enough, I thought of a joke. I was like, if a tree falls in the woods, does Jake Paul still get his head knocked off? No, nobody laughed. Okay, cool. Anyway, August 28th, Jake Paul, Tyron Woodley. It's going to be the first event they do on Showtime. I believe it's going to be the Showtime pay-per-view branch. Same day as the UFC show as well. Dan and I also said offline, neither one of us were really surprised. I know Brandon and I talked about it after the Ben Askren fight, how they got into it. Nobody's really surprised that Tyron Woodley, who he is a free agent. It's not the UFC didn't release him. His contract ran through. UFC wasn't interested in renewing. He wasn't interested in staying. He's a free agent. He can do what he wants. It's not a case of Dana said he would never work with Jake Paul. Well, he didn't really have a choice. Tyron Woodley is a free agent. He took the payday. He's doing the first event on Showtime Sports. There's a few questions I have about that, but Brandon, I'm going to play good cop, bad cop. Tell me why we should watch this.
You should watch it because Tyron Woodley is somebody who actually is a threat to Jake Paul. He has punching power. Ben Askren, we all know he wasn't a puncher. Nate Robinson was a basketball player. This is somebody who can actually crack, who can actually throw bombs on Jake Paul. We can really see how Jake Paul is doing.
Dan, tell me why we should not watch this crap.
Because Woodley's past his prime. He's been a passive fighter since he won the belt, and he lost 4 in a row. He doesn't box. At least right now, Jake Paul has been putting a lot of work into boxing. We don't know what to expect from Woodley, and I don't think it's going to be a good idea for him.
So I'll play the middle here. Honestly, Tyron Woodley looked the best he's looked in forever in that last fight, and he still got dropped and stopped by Luque. the younger, fresher fighter. I actually am fearful, and I can't believe I'm about to say this on air. People feel free to mute me, so nobody has evidence of this. But I'm fearful that Jake Paul is going to beat Tyron Woodley because he's taller, longer, heavier. People forget Jake Paul's over 6 feet. Tyron Woodley's small. He's only like 5'9". He's not going to get that reach. Jake Paul's really good with his jab. He's really good. Like the last couple fights. And here's the thing people keep missing about Jake Paul. We keep making fun of him, but he keeps training. Like, Brandon, you're in the gym every day. Let's play devil's advocate. How long do you think it takes from somebody to start training to the point, how many months, years, whatever, till you think they can actually step in a kickboxing ring or MMA cage and fight at least one fight?
To really be good, I would at least say at least a year, minimum a year.
Okay, so he's been doing this now well over 2. And that's just the celebrity stuff. And he's been training before that. And with real boxers. Like, he's not training with nobodies. He's bringing the best of the best that the Paul brothers have the money to bring in. Because they're all Calabasas boys living next to the Kardashians. They got the money. They're hanging out in Miami right now. This weekend, we got the Floyd Mayweather-Logan Paul fight, which I might, but I don't even know I'm going to watch that. I might watch highlights. My point being is that Jake Paul's been training for a long time now. And if you're stepping in a cage, that's one thing. But Jake Paul's not stepping in a cage. He's staying in a boxing ring where he knows that 15-foot squared circle, 18-foot squared circle. He knows the event. This is new for Tyron Woodley. Tyron Woodley's always been somebody who could throw his hands when he wants to. But at the same time, and he did last time, he let his hands go against Luque. But at the same time, Tyron Woodley's never been in a situation where he can't throw a kick. He can't do a takedown. He can't do any of that stuff when he gets panicked or rushed. He can't push you up against the cage and hold you if he wants to reset. So I'm afraid to say this. I think Jake Paul's going to knock him out too, and we're never going to hear the end of this shit. I don't know. Anyway, are either of you guys watching Sunday? You guys going to watch Floyd Mayweather versus Logan Paul? Anybody?
I'll be watching. You know me, man. I'm a wrestling fan. I'll be watching NWA when our shadows fall instead.
And by the way, I know this isn't MMA related, so we're gonna lose at least one more viewer. Can you all believe that they dropped Braun Strowman, Aleister Black, Ruby Riott? Like, there's like 5 names that got dropped. Braun being the biggest, who was just in the main event.
I know.
Dan and I were just talking. It's crazy. Yeah. Aleister just got brought back.
Exactly. They just had him on SmackDown.
There's got to be a bigger story. I won't talk too much about this, but there's got to be a bigger story. I'm not going to sit there and assume somebody failed a test or anything like that, but there's got to be a bigger story for Vince, who loves size, to drop Braun Strowman. The other guys I could see. The other girls, like, I could see him, like, I don't care about that person. Just get rid of him. Braun Strowman, that's Vince's baby. I can't believe he dropped him. So there's got to be a bigger story.
I can't believe they dropped Black, especially after bringing him back like they did in the main event 2 weeks ago to start a program, and then the next week you release him. Makes no sense.
It's all crazy. I'm sure the story will come out. There's also some big basketball news going on as well. But speaking of boxing, we'll kind of transition a little bit into bare knuckle. A couple things going on. Pearl Gonzalez finally got her fight announced. She's going to be fighting in June against another kind of modelish type female. She's going to be fighting over against Carissa Sigali, aka Sweetheart. So that'll be interesting. I have the same problem every time I watch Pearl. I saw her working out the other day, like on one of her videos. She has good footwork. She has zero head movement. You see her moving in and out, moving in and out. We know Pearl can throw punches. We've seen it in Invicta. We saw it a little bit in the UFC. We know Pearl can dish out some damage, but she could never take the damage. And now she's in a sport that's going to be bloody, gushed up. Speaking of other MMA fighters making the transition, Paige Van Zant's going to be welcoming in another one in July. Rachel Ostovich is going to be making that transition. She was another girl who was just not quite good. She was really good, actually, but she just got some bad matchups and didn't win anything in the UFC. So now she's transitioning to make some more paydays over in bare knuckle. And then June 18th, not in Miami, surprisingly, Jorge Masvidal's Gamebred Promotions And this is actually what I want to talk to you guys about, because this is an MMA event with no gloves. They're going to be taking place in Biloxi, Mississippi. I can only assume that maybe Jorge and the group had trouble getting licensed in Miami and in Florida for whatever reason, because Florida usually licenses almost anybody if you're willing to pay the dough. He's going to be setting up the main event. And Dan, I'm not going to throw you under the bus for what you said off air, but the main event, Jason Knight versus Charles Bennett. Dan, I'll start with you. Is there some excitement for a bare knuckle MMA event? I'm excited actually for the MMA version.
I think there is, just for the fact that you got Jorge Masvidal's name on it, so that's going to get people to view it. And then you got a guy in the main event, in Jason Knight, who has been in the UFC. He's been around. He's beaten names like Dan Hooker and Alex Torres. So just that in itself is going to get people to view it. And it could be like a different version of Bare Knuckle Fight Club in itself. So I'm intrigued to see how they present it and then how everything's done with it.
You know, and it's ironic too. Two things I just noticed. One, I thought Jason Knight was way older than what he is. But Brandon, he's only 28. He actually just fought an MMA fight in March. But we just talked about Alan Belcher signing on for Bare Knuckle. Guess where Jason Knight trains?
Yeah, with Alan Belcher.
Alan Belcher's MMA club. So that's kind of ironic that Jason Knight's the first one to do Bare Knuckle MMA. Now, Brandon, that reminds me of street fighting to me. Like no gloves. It just reminds me of a street fight. That's where Jorge Masvidal made his name. Are you excited, or how do you feel about it?
I just feel like it's kind of like I guess early UFC over here to me. Like you're just gonna do an MMA fight, but no gloves, just like how they used to do way back to like UFC 1 and 2. Except for there are some rules now. You know, you can't punch. You can't punch or kick anybody in the groin or anything like that. But I mean, Jason Knight has done a few bare knuckle boxing matches. So I mean, this won't be his first rodeo. And then Charles Bennett, aka Crazy Horse, he's a crazy dude. So I'm sure
he goes by Felony now.
Hey, whatever, Crazy Horse, Felony. It's nothing new. It's nothing new to him. So to me, these are the two perfect guys to really start it off for you.
Here, this is another reason why I think they may actually be in Mississippi and not in Florida. If you're an athletic commission, how do you sanction a fight with Crazy Horse? The guy's lost 11 straight. He is 41 years old. He's fought 71 fights. 71. This guy he was on the Elite FC card back in the day when you're talking about Gina Carano and all them fighting. And that was how far? 2005, maybe?
Yeah.
He actually, and it's funny because it was one of the most memorable things I saw because he knocked out KJ Noons. Like he knocked KJ Noons out cold. That was the main event. I had Renzo Gracie and Frank Shamrock on it. When Ryzen relaunched, he was on Ryzen 1 and 2 and got kind of screwed in the decisions, which was kind of ironic for a guy who's lost as many fights as he has. He actually got kind of screwed out of one of them, and it became a big deal. But that's how long this guy has been fighting, since 1999. If you're an athletic commission, I don't see how you legally sanction him against a 28-year-old fighter who's still relatively successful. Jason Knight only got released because he lost 4 straight fights, but one of those was a split decision. The other 2 were decisions, and he lost the one to like TKO against Lamas. But other than that, here's a guy who's relatively successful, kind of quit the sport for a couple years. Like in 2018, he kind of abruptly stopped fighting, but he was only 26 at the time. So he's been around for a long time. He's got 27 pro fights. I don't see how Jason Knight just doesn't destroy Charles Bennett in this fight, but I guess we will see. Have either one of you guys heard what weight that's going to be? Because Charles Bennett usually fights a few pounds heavier than Jason Knight.
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay. I'm sure more details will come out. The event's still about 3 weeks away, or 2 weeks away. So we'll see what happens with that. I'm kind of excited for it, like I said, because it just reminds me of street fighting inside a cage with rules. You take away the gloves and see what happens. But it's still MMA rules, so it's not too crazy like bare knuckle gets sometimes. One last thing on that event, they did announce the announcers, the commentators for that. Paige Van Zant, who I guess is Mrs. Bareknuckle now, she will be on the commentary team along with Sean Wheelock, who I know people remember from Bellator. And then the one kind of surprise to me was Dan Lambert. I know he's, American Top Team, Jorge Masvidal's guy. He actually has had some mic work for people that do follow wrestling. They've been doing the NWA stuff, him, King Mo, and a bunch of them. Brandon, just talking about watching his NWA Power and all that stuff. So they've been doing some stuff on, I think it was NWA Power. They've been doing it, right, Brandon?
I'm not too sure.
Oh, no, not NW. It's MLW.
Yeah,
they've been on MLW
yeah,
doing it down in Florida.
And he used to be on Impact.
Yep.
Yeah, they did the whole thing when they brought in Tito and Rampage and everybody. The next news story, I'm actually going to kind of give it to Brandon. And we do like to bring up Glory when we get a chance. Of course, we got our own resident Glory vet right over here. Glory 78 coming. The reason why we care. In the co-main event, Alex Pereira, who we're still hoping to make another MMA appearance soon. He's going to be fighting for his light heavyweight title. The vacant middleweight title is going to be up for grabs. Of course, the main event is going to be Hari versus Rozek. Brandon, take it away. Tell me a little bit about Glory 78.
Man, just Glory 78. You know me, man. Anytime Glory's on, I'm always watching. It's a good card. You're gonna have Badr Hari on there as usual, man. Anytime Badr's fighting, everybody's watching. He's one of the mainstays that really probably one of the biggest kickboxing.
Oh, and by the way, July 17th in Netherlands. But go ahead.
Yep. Yeah. So Badr Hari's fighting. Then of course, like we just talked about, Alex Pereira, him and Vahitov are getting that rematch. People thought that Vahitov won the last time. I didn't. I thought Pereira won. So hey, they're gonna run it back. Because of this, I think they're gonna have Pereira drop his middleweight title because he actually was a double champ. So they got another title fight going on for that. Which is going to be, I think it's Donovan Weiss and my man Bulgari, which I'm a fan of Bulgari, so I'm hoping that Bulgari takes it because I was there the night when he fought Pereira at Glory 55 in New York City, and he got dropped bad by Pereira, but this time this is his redemption fight, and then of course they're doing a vacant title fight, which is Tyler Buzati. And I can't remember. I can't remember who's he going up against.
Elvis Gashi.
Oh yeah, Gashi. No, Gashi. No, Elvis Gashi.
Vacant lightweight title.
Yeah, Gashi. He's actually from around this area. He's actually from New York. He's actually. It should be a good fight. It should be a good fight. It should be a good card in general because to me, Glory always puts out good cards. I'm just waiting for him to come back to the States.
Yeah, at least I know a few of the names up top of the card, so it should be fun. It's got 3 title fights, so definitely something to watch. Like I said, it's coming to us July 17th in Rotterdam, Netherlands. So hopefully Glory can get back to the States now that things are starting to open up. Hopefully we get somebody fighting soon. I'm not going to say any names.
Yeah.
I know people listening to the audio are like, why did it go quiet for a second? I was pointing at Brandon. Should I tell y'all? Other fight news coming up. There are actually a lot of fight announcements, none really that major right now, but there were a bunch of little ones. Next week, we're going to be talking about a ton of stuff. We'll talk about the PFL second half. We'll talk about Bellator and obviously the UFC pay-per-view next week. So next week is going to be a jam-packed show. Maybe we can get Dan back. Maybe we can get Tim in, get some analysts. Me and Brandon might not get a word in if we have both of them on the same time, but we'll see what's happening, see what people's schedules look like. But also July 17th, Max Holloway, he's going to be back in action against Yair Rodriguez. Yair Rodriguez isn't the first name I thought of like to match up with Max. But I'm starting to think Max is like the boogeyman right now because he arguably got robbed in that second fight against Volkanovski. He looked fantastic. I don't think anybody wants to fight him. Yair Rodriguez needs to come up in his name value. He needs to get in that main event. So the only way he does it is probably going through Max. That said, I don't have any doubt that Max is probably going to run through him if he fought like he fought last time. Are either of you guys excited about that matchup? Dan?
I'm excited just to see Max get back in there. I know he probably took it just for the fact that he hasn't fought in a little while, and with how the divisions hold up, you got Ortega and Volkanovski.
He looked great against Cater. He looked great.
They got them on the Ultimate Fighter. Zabit is going through the health issues. Cater, of course, lost to him, so it kind of left things hanging for Holloway. So I think he took it just to get another fight on his book, and I think he's going to dominate this. I just have a feeling because he's so quick with his pace. He puts in so much volume. Against Cater, he had over 300 strikes, and then just the movement. He doesn't get tired. His boxing's great. His defense against the takedown is just one of the best. He's just fun to watch. And then he's still young, which is crazy to think.
Yeah.
I think he's in his late 20s.
29.
Yeah. So, and like Rodriguez is good. He has that Taekwondo background, unorthodox striking, and then he's pretty good with his movement and takedowns, but I don't think he's going to be able to withstand all that volume that he's going to take from Holloway.
Brandon, we haven't seen Jair Rodriguez in almost 2 years. His last fight was against Jeremy Stephens back in October, when him and Jeremy Stephens had that back-to-back fights after the eye poke, and then he came out and beat Stephens after that. We haven't seen him in like over a year and a half, almost 2 years by the time they fight. What do you think that he could bring to even give Max trouble? Because Max looked unstoppable. He looked like all his mental health problems, all his concussion issues, whatever was dogging him for a little while, Max's last fight against Calvin Kattar looked like all that was gone. Like he was Max again. So what do you think is going to happen in this fight?
I just think that Jair Rodriguez is just an unpredictable fighter. You know, he does some, you know, out of the box things. You know, when you think of his fight with the Korean Zombie and how he caught him at the end with that elbow. You know, he does some spinning attacks. So I really want to say that's really what Max will have to worry about is just Jair just doing different things. You know, like there's even like I'll say like there's something that Jair does. Like I teach it to my kids, and I call it the Jair kick. You know, I'm like, oh, go ahead and do a Jair, and the kids know exactly what I'm talking about. But it's something that, you know, it's a little tricky, little funky, you know. So that's really what Max Holloway just kind of has to worry about. But I think, but me being a Max Holloway fan, I think Max is going to take him. But also too, going to what you were saying though, I just don't think there are many options. Like you know, like Dan said, like a lot of people are kind of out. They're either already taken or you guys have beat who maybe has some health issues. So there's not really many people in the top 5 that are active that are ready to fight.
Yeah, I think it's just a fight of circumstance. I think Jair was there. He's been waiting for a fight for a little while. At least I assume he's been waiting. And Max is like, I fought in January. I'm ready to fight again. Let's go. So this is a way to get somebody in there. And obviously they're waiting for, you know, the whole Volkanovski, Brian Ortega thing to work out. I'm sure Max is rooting for Ortega because I don't think Dana's interested in giving him a third fight with Volkanovski. But that's the fight people want to see. So I think at the end of the day, that will happen no matter who wins, as long as Max keeps winning. Some other fight news, kind of like the Charles Bennett thing. Bigfoot is coming back. Antonio Bigfoot Silva. He swears he's going to go back to the 2012 version. Since 2012, Bigfoot has lost. He's 3-10-1 in MMA. He had a failed move to Glory Kickboxing. Speaking of Glory, he had a failed move to bare knuckle. He was supposed to have a fight, I want to say late last year. I know we talked about it. He was supposed to be part of that Titan FC or something like that. They're having down in Florida with the Brazilian promoters, him and Renan Barão and some other people. And for COVID reasons and for booking reasons, that event never took place. And I think they're supposed to move it back this year. And I'm guessing not even, because he's fighting completely somewhere different. So it's just another situation where we have some of these guys who need a payday and they just keep coming back. I don't know Bigfoot's motivations for this personally, but I got to assume it has something to do with still needing money, because I can't imagine somebody who had, you know, his glory moment against Fedor still needs to fight when you keep getting beat. But some people have that itch. I can't tell, you know, we've always famously, or Brandon and Sergio used to tell me all the time, you can't tell somebody when to stop fighting. It's just kind of a hard situation to keep seeing Bigfoot in there. So I don't know. Either one of you guys, like, do you guys think, Brandon, what do you think? Do you think he should still keep fighting?
If he has tell you this, if somebody's still willing to pay him, then that means people still want to see him fight then. You know, if that like you tell you, man, we're you know, they're prize fighters. If people are willing to pay you to fight, take the money. If they're not willing to pay you, then that's when you know it's time for you to go.
Man, I would think as a promoter, anybody would want to pay him because he's an attraction, right?
Yep.
Like Dan.
No, I agree with that. It's just that with the last that we saw him, the last few fights, he developed like a glass chin where he'll just get knocked out
as soon as you touch him.
Yeah, as soon as you touch him. So it's like you don't want to see it keep happening to him. You want to see him get out when he can. It's just like you said, if people are going to offer him money, and if he needs money, he's going to take it.
Bareknuckle was the worst thing for him because honestly, anybody who's ever watched Bigfoot fight, you know he relies a lot on those leg kicks. Like he uses the leg kicks to kind of set up everything because of his distance. And Bareknuckle, you can't kick anybody. So that was a bad decision. Last couple headlines, and then we'll jump into some results. Renan Ferreira blast PFL's matchmaking because he didn't get his Verdun rematch. Obviously, a lot of controversy the last time. We'll talk more about that next week when we talk about the second half of PFL. But I am a little interested. I didn't think they'd get a rematch. I thought they'd match them up with different people anyway because of the season. But putting it out there, I am kind of surprised they didn't get a rematch. He said PFL was being very shady because they didn't even talk really about how the commission ruled or any of that stuff. And then Yuri Prochaska is in talks to be the alternate in case anybody falls out from the Glover Teixeira and Jan Blachowicz fight. A couple other headlines talking about different events. We were talking about August 28th, Dustin Jacoby. He's going to be on that event head-to-head with the Jake Paul event. And, we'll just talk about all the PFL news next week. So stay tuned with that. I don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves. And then you guys not watch next week because I already told you everything this week. So talk about it next week. All right, let's talk about some results from last weekend. There wasn't one event, but it was tape delayed, so we didn't really want to talk about it. No PFL, no Bellator, no UFC. So we turned our attention to the regional. Anybody that knows Art of MMA knows that we cut our teeth talking about the regional scene, especially Cage Fury Fighting Championships out of the Northeast. They're right in the backyard of Brandon and Dan. They were in Philly last weekend for 96 and 97. So we're going to go ahead and talk about the results. Let's jump right into it. CFFC 96. We lost our main event. Oh, by the way, Brandon, congratulations, buddy. 3-0. I was 1-2.
Yeah, buddy.
And Dan, I see you smirking from going 5-2 a couple weeks ago. I was 6-1 that week, just to let you know. But I just want to point this out. The 2 fights I lost was because I played devil's advocate to Brandon. I let Brandon pick first, okay? Just want to point that out, okay? I'm a little salty over here. Sprinkle some salt on my head. I'm a little salty, but I'm still in first place by a couple percentage points. I'm currently 50 and 27. Brandon's 50 and 29. So I will take the percentage points heading into whatever playoffs that we have eventually. All right, now back to CFFC 96. We lost our main event. It was supposed to be Jones versus Cleveland for the heavyweight title. Cleveland got sick. They say it's not COVID related, but he was sick the day of, so they canceled that fight. Ended up moving up the Eddie Torres, Rojas fight. It was actually, both guys had moments. I know one of the judges' scorecards had a 30-27. I like the 29-28. It's a little bit better. I did catch some good glimpses of that fight and some highlights of that fight. I didn't watch the whole thing, but it looked like both guys had a lot of good moments. Dan, you're our guest. I'll start with you. What'd you think of that fight?
Basically what you said. I think they had both moments here and there. They were going back and forth, but I was okay with how they scored it because it wasn't too crazy.
Yeah,
Brandon. Rojas bloodied up Torres.
Yeah, he did, but to me, it was a Torres fight. I mean, you're basically like in his backyard. He trains with Sean Brady. To me, man, it was his fight. Like I really thought he handled his business. He went in there. He was trying to finish the guy. He didn't get the job done, but I mean, kudos to him, man. Hopefully, we'll be seeing him again July 3rd.
Yeah, it should be interesting to see because they got a bunch of events coming up for Cage Fury. So we'll see how some of these guys turn around. They're kind of rebuilding their roster a little bit. We used to have a lot of name value on their rosters, a lot of guys next for the UFC. With COVID and everything else, things kind of got moved around a little bit. So we see a lot more up and coming fighters now. But those same guys, they talk about the Jared Gordons, the Jonathan Webbs, all these guys, they were unknown fighters at one time too. And now they're all name values because of CFFC and now the UFC. In the co-main event, it was Carmo over Labiano. Dan was saying off air, do you agree with that decision? I know it was a close split decision. Dan?
This one was tough for me, like I was telling you off air, because both of them, the fight was on the ground probably 80% of the time. You had Labiano who came out strong with his kicks, and then Carmo just looked confused early on. But then the fight went to the ground, and he seemed to control it for like the last half of the first round. Then the second round, he basically had him on the ground majority. And then the third, they would like roll around. And then Labiano did get some hits in and then got back up and started attacking him. But like, I still felt like it was 29-28 Carmo just by a little bit. I don't agree with the 30-27 because I gave the first round to Labiano. But I don't see how you could have somebody score 30-27 and then have somebody else score it the other way, 28-29. Like, the disconnect there with the judges is obvious with how they scored it. Like, I personally, like I said, I scored it 29-28 Carmo, but it could have went that way, or it could have went 28-29 in favor of Labiano.
Brandon, okay, finish your thought. I'm sorry.
No.
Brandon, you talk about it all the time too, the open scoring system. Something like that probably would have paid a lot of benefit into a fight like this.
Yeah, man, definitely. Like I said, at least this way you know what it is that you're doing if it's working to the judge. Because remember, like, it's all about perspective and what the judges like. Some judges might like, the control on the ground a little bit more than even if you're doing damage like you're supposed to be, because damage is supposed to be like the number one thing. But you can control somebody on the ground. But if the bottom person one's throwing elbows, throwing punches, and they're the one doing the damage, while the top person is just controlling them, then that person could win, even though they're not doing any damage, but they're controlling them. While another judge might say, well, that person on the bottom is the one doing the damage, so I'm going to give it to them. At least this way, what it is that these judges are thinking. It's just like with any sports. Like, sometimes you watch a football game, or you watch a basketball game. You can tell right away. All right, these refs are calling things like that, or these refs are gonna be like, oh, not, they're gonna let you play.
Yeah, another thing, like you talk about the open scoring, and I know I saw a lot of people hating on the one scoring. A lot of people get a lot of negative feedback, especially after Eddie Alvarez lost that last fight. I love the one style of things. Like, you just pick a winner. Like, forget. Like, they may have different credentials of why they picked the winner, and we could talk about that, whatever. But just the system of, like, I saw 3 rounds of action, I think this person won. Or I saw 3 rounds of action, I thought this person won. It only leads to split decisions. There's no draws. There's no, like, it's regular decision or split decision. There's no questionable any way the other way. In this situation, even open scoring would have been better, because if you come in the 3rd round knowing one guy already has you down 2 rounds to 0, you need a finish. You have to go out there and finish the guy. You can't sit there and try to get a decision win. If you knew you were tied 1-1 on going into the 3rd round, then you may keep to your game plan. But if you're down 2-0, you have to go out and get a knockout or a sub. So I think open scoring would definitely have been more beneficial in a fight like this. A couple other things to talk about that card. A lot of decisions. There were 2 submissions. Chris Cuttino and got Andrew Salas by an arm triangle in the 3rd round. Spawn beat Nick Olson by a rear naked choke in the 1st round. A lot of the other fighters, like I said, up-and-coming fighters, we'll get to know their names more as the time goes on. But, you got to make your name somehow. So a lot of great action. Always go back and watch UFC Fight Pass. You can watch the action on demand if you don't get a chance to watch it live. I am not paid for that promo. I'm not like Dan. I don't get like sponsors. I'm a little salty about that too. I see Dan racking up the sponsors over there. But all props to Cage My IQ. Dan does a great job of breaking down all of these events, fight for fight. He has these little mini 10-minute videos. You can check out them all over on Cage My IQ. We'll have all the links in the show notes as always. Let's go ahead and move our attention over to the next night. This one I know a little bit more action. CFFC 97. We had Elise Reed, who we knew a little bit previously. She's had some experience. Hillary Rose, who was on the Contender Series. So a little bit better name value in the main event. Both Brandon and I picked Elise Reed. We thought she was the more well-rounded fighter. Turns out, second round, she got the TKO and held on to her title. Brandon, what did you think of that fight?
It was a good fight. I mean, Elise Reed, she wanted this fight. She had watched Hillary Rose fight, and I guess she went up and told the matchmaker, was like, no, I want to fight this girl. And she got what she wanted. First round was a little rough for her. I thought, she did get dropped. I think Rose was on her back a little bit, but she was able to fight her off. Came back in the second round, took care of business, keeping her belt, gonna fight on again. But yeah, she looked good. And I just realized, I found out that she's actually kind of close around me because she's from New Jersey. She's from the Princeton area. So I mean, kudos to her, fellow New Jersey, and doing big things.
Yeah, she's fighting out there. She's actually a Cali girl, though, funny enough. She's from Sacramento. But she is doing big things with CFFC over in the Northeast. She's had that title now for a minute. Dan, what you think of that fight?
I love the fight because
I thought it was a great matchup.
Yeah, they were both going at it. Rose had a few really good submission attempts that I thought she was going to get them, but it just seemed like Reed just kept on sliding out each time. And at the end of the second one, at the end of the first round, she was able to slide out, transition over to the other side, and then she got on top of Rose. And then that's when the fight started changing. I felt like she got on top. She got like a second win. I felt Rose was getting a little bit winded after trying all those submissions for a couple of minutes. The round ends, the start of the second round goes, and I felt like Reed just felt fresh again, and she just kept on attacking like the Terminator. She just keeps on coming. They mentioned that on air, and then she finally got her with, I believe it was like 5 seconds left in the second round. She was just ground and pounding her. And then she started hitting her with the elbows, and then once I saw her hit her with the elbow, I knew it was done, because she started putting her hands up like this and wasn't doing anything, and then the ref stopped it, of course.
Yeah, he had to stop it at that point. Elise Reed's actually, she's 4-0 now. She could definitely be one of the next women, especially that 115-pound division with so many young and up-and-coming fighters in the UFC division. I could see Elise Reed moving on to Invicta now that they're starting to run more events. I can see her moving up to UFC at some point soon. We don't see too many female fighters coming from CFFC to UFC, but it's possible. And she's definitely one of the ones, if she's already main eventing cards now on the regional level. So definitely keep an eye on Elise Reed. We had actually picked, originally the card had the James Lyons Samaniego fight as a co-main event. They actually switched it on us, so Brandon and I picked that fight instead of the co-main event. But in the co-main event, and I was wrong on that one too, I took Samaniego, who got tapped out to the rear naked choke. But in the co-main event, another rear naked choke, this time in the first round, Jose Perez took care of business against Jalen Reed. Dan, what'd you think of that fight?
It was pretty good. Perez got clipped early, but it didn't look like he got affected too much by it. He recovered instantly, and then he had put a triangle choke on after he got clipped. And somehow, like within them grappling with each other, he was able to move over into and transition to the back of Alston, and he had that lock on for probably 30 seconds to a minute, and then he just clipped it and got the rear naked choke. I was impressed with him.
Brandon, Jose Perez now 4-0. What do you think of the kid?
Hey, man, he looked good. Like I said, man, you go out there, you get a finish. Then you're able to talk on the mic with CM Punk. That's all.
Is that a reward?
That's always a good thing.
Is that a reward?
Yeah, dude. CM Punk is good at talking MMA, man. I enjoy him and John Morgan, man. I think they do an awesome job together. I like CM Punk. His insight is good. He breaks it down pretty well, man. Hey, man. CM Punk.
If I wasn't already blocked by CM Punk, I'd be blocked again.
I don't care. But Perez was good. I think I want to say
time isn't CM Punk. Time to turn you off.
Yeah, I think he was calling out for our pick that we did earlier, the James Lyon fight. I think he was calling him out. He was trying to say that hey, he would want to do that fight, I think, in Tampa. So I mean, I would be down to watch those two guys fight.
Well, if you come down to Tampa, let me know. You know what? That would be a good matchup. They're both in the same weight class. Both of them took care of business. Both of them are probably fresh. I mean, James Lyons just looked really good in that fight. I saw the highlights. I saw some of the action early on in that fight. He just looked really good. So, there's a lot of up-and-coming fighters, a lot of finishes in this card. Efren Escanero, I thought he looked great against Matt Turnbull. He's now 3-0. Ferreras Golden, 3-0. Velasco 1-0. Hicks 1-0. So a lot of good young up-and-coming fighters. They had that heavyweight fight. Velasco knocked Williams out in the first round. So a lot of good action. Guy. You do? Yeah. So 1-0. These guys got a world ways to go. Brand new. The great thing about CFFC, they like to mix some of the amateur fights with some of the professional fights. So they give these people a showcase that you don't get a lot of other places. If you're an amateur fighter, chances are nobody's ever going to see you fight until you turn pro. CFFC tends to give you a little bit of spotlight and a little bit of love. So shout out to Rob Haydek, Arias Garcia, and all those guys. They do a fantastic job. Gentlemen, you ready to make some picks?
Yeah.
All right, let's move on. Obviously, the show moving a little bit faster because we're trying to stretch it out at this point. There's not much to talk about from last week. So anyway, coming up this weekend, Rozenstruik stepping back in the cage against Sakai. Two fighters with a couple losses. UFC Fight Night 189, UFC Vegas 28. For argument's purposes, we'll call it Vegas 28. Right back in the UFC Apex on June 5th. Let's start with the main event. Brandon, I'll let you start. Who you got and why?
I'm gonna go with Rozenstruik, man. I'm gonna hope that he's gonna rely on his kickboxing background. He's gonna use that to his advantage. Use his striking better than what he did. When he, the last time when he fought, and he got dropped by Ngannou.
He fought Ginn last.
Oh, but before that, when he did fight Ngannou, how he just stood there. But same thing, even with Ginn too as well. I'm just gonna go with Rozenstruik. I think he's the bigger name. I think they're trying to boost him up with this fight as well. It's no easy fight because it's heavyweights. You never know. People can just go down in one punch. But I'm gonna go with Rozenstruik.
Dan, this is make or break for Rozenstruik. His last 3 wins have all been against aging fighters: Arlovsky, Overeem, Dos Santos. His last 2 losses against up-and-coming fighters: Ngannou, Ginn. What do you expect out of this event, this performance?
Just like you said, he needs this. He's hovering around that 5, 6, 7 range in the division. If he loses this, he'll get pushed back down, and the likelihood of him getting back up, it's going to take a lot more than it would to win this. I got him winning first round knockout. Everybody keeps saying that he fights scared. He fights so passive, which he has looked like that. Like you said, in the Ngannou one, he definitely was backing up a lot right before he got clipped. And then in the Ginn one, he was playing too passive. But I feel like with him, from what I heard, he moved over to ATT recently, from what I heard, and they're helping him out. I feel like he's going to be a little bit more aggressive. And I think with Augusto Sakai's style, he'll be able to knock him out because Sakai has been known for having a chin issues with getting knocked out in certain fights. Whereas Rozenstruik, he did get knocked out in the Ngannou one, but that's Ngannou. Everybody's going to get knocked out mostly by him. I feel like he's going to be able to use his counter, use his kickboxing, and then when Sakai makes that one mistake, which he tends to overuse his right hand, like he extends it too far, I feel like Rozenstruik can move back like he usually does and just pop him and then knock him out because he does have that knockout power that he can do it at any time. Just watch that Overeem fight. He was losing all 5 rounds until the last 30 seconds. Overeem made one mistake and he popped him.
So I'm torn. I'm really torn on this fight. you made mention of the only time Sakai was knocked out was in the 5th round against Overeem, his last fight out. There was back and forth fight. Overeem caught him in the 5th round, put him down and out. At the same time, Rozenstruik's big claim to fame was ripping Overeem open, his lip open, and all that stuff, and knocking him out at the last second in the 5th round, right? The only other loss that Sakai has on his career is a split decision loss to Czech Congo and Bellator, which was questionable at best if those judges there were a little bit favoring the name on that one, because I do remember that fight very well. Sakai's a big boy. He's 6'4", 260. Rozenstruik's never been, I mean, he's 255, but he's never been like a bigger heavyweight. He's not one of those dudes that has to really cut weight to make heavyweight like some of these giants do. Against Ngannou, Rozenstruik looked like a deer in headlights. Ngannou came out with that blitz, put him down. Coming back against Dos Santos, and Rozenstruik looked like himself again. He looked comfortable. He was throwing his kicks. You can question whether, once again, did Dos Santos get hit back in the head again. Same thing with the Ginn fight. A couple fights that Dos Santos lost where he got hit in the back of the head. But then in the Ginn fight, it was almost like Derek Lewis versus Ngannou the first time. Neither guy wanted to do anything. And Ginn just did more. But Rozenstruik never looked like he wanted to really engage with him. So I don't know which Rozenstruik we're going to see on Saturday. I know Sakai is going to come and bring it. Whether he gets caught is the question, because like you said, he sticks out his arm. He tries to lead with that jab. He tries to create that read. If he sticks that arm and leads with it, Rozenstruik's going to kick him in the head. You know, talk about that kickboxing background. So, man, I'm going to take Augusto, not even to play devil's advocate. I actually just think Sakai's going to win. I just don't think Rozenstruik has what it takes to compete on the top level with the top guys. And even though Sakai is only really experienced with top guys as Overeem and Tibura, he also beat Arlovsky. He also beat Chase Sherman, who anybody knows Chase Sherman's a tough out too. And he's a big dude. I think he can use his weight and his advantage. So I'm going to take Sakai in that one. Over in the co-main event, speaking of Marcin Tibura, he's always a fun fight. Him and Walt Harris matching it up. I'm looking forward to that one. Dan, why don't you start us off with that one?
This was tough for me because it's all about what Walt Harris we're going to see. He always makes the mistake of putting too much effort into the first round with his striking, and then he tires out, and then he doesn't use, like, to me, his biggest strength, which is his wrestling background, getting the guy down and then keeping him down. He has bad defense. He struggles when he gets taken down. It's a struggle for him to get out of guard. Then you got Tibura, who has very good cardio. He goes the distance a lot. He's been able to improve lately. And then he likes the one move that I think is key for him in this fight, which is why I'm leaning towards Tibura, is he likes to duck and then shoot for takedowns. So I feel like he's going to wait for Harris to go throw some strikes at him early on, and he's going to duck, come out under, and then take him down and control the fight on the ground. And he's just going to do that all 3 rounds, I feel like. And I feel like if he doesn't finish him in round 2, because I feel like Harris is going to be tired because he's going to put a lot into round 1, then I feel like he's going to win by decision. But I have a feeling it's going to be a round 2 ground and pound knockout by Tibura.
Brandon, Tibura's only weakness is the knockout. He's been knocked out 4 times out of his 6 losses. He can do everything. You know he's going to bring the pressure. I mean, the guy has submissions, he has decisions, he has KOs. There's no question. Like, Tibura can do it all to you. And Walt Harris's biggest strength is all 13 of his wins have been by knockout. If he doesn't knock you out, he's probably going to lose. How do you see this fight playing out?
I'm going with Tibura, man. I'm sorry. Like, I like Walt Harris. I feel bad, like, you know, about his story with his stepdaughter and everything like that. But to me, I just don't think he's that good. Like, I remember when he first came into the UFC and I watched him, you know, I think he got a highlight knockout. People were trying to big him up because I think he was called, the big ticket. And then next thing you know, he started taking L's, you know, and then somehow I think he came back into the UFC. Like I'm saying, like, I think he used to train at ATT, but he doesn't anymore. Now he's hanging out with Eric Anders and, like, you know, was it in Alabama?
Yeah,
And
SBG,
it's like,
Alabama.
yeah,
Spartan
it's just
Fitness.
like to me, it's like, bro, you're not with the right team. I'm sorry, man. Yo, I like Eric Anders too. He's a fun guy, you know, your boy Eric Anders, but I just don't think he's getting the right training. I don't think he's training with the right people. And I just see him just taking another L this Saturday. I think like Dan said, I think Tabora is just gonna take him down, control him, ground and pound. Maybe he might get a submission. Because like saying Walt Harris, you get him on the ground, he's like a fish out of water. He ain't doing anything. He's just laying there.
Yeah, I find it hard to pick Walt Harris. Yeah, I think Tabora is going to win this fight just because of the pressure. Walt Harris is best when he catches people coming, right? So he has a puncher's chance against Tabora. There's no question about it. Tabora leads with his chin out there a lot of times, trying to come in and get you, wrestle you, take you down, ground and pound you, wear you out. Tabora can throw hands too, but and the most time he just wants to pressure you. He wants to do a bunch of different things and all kinds of different angles. He's a fun fighter to watch. He's a very fun fighter to watch. Coming out of Jackson Wink, though, he's used to getting punched in the face by the John Joneses of the world. He's used to hitting with some of these big strikers. So I think Harris has a puncher's chance. I could see Tabora getting caught coming in, but he tends to keep his chin down, keep it out of the way. He got knocked out by Sakai, who I just talked about. And he got dropped by I can't even say, but Shamil Abdurakhimov. I probably butchered his last name, and I apologize. He got dropped by him in the second round. He obviously lost to Derek Lewis, and then he got tapped out by Fabricio. Those are his last 4 losses. He also lost a decision to Tim Johnson and one other loss. He's lost against some tough fighters. Walt Harris has also lost to those dudes too. I think Walt Harris is a fun fighter to watch, but I don't think he's a main eventer. And I think Tabora is going to take this one. That is my pick for that one. Guys, it is time to make our individual picks, fights that we need to watch. Dan, you're our guest. I'll let you start. Go ahead and pick your fight.
I'm doing the Ponzinibbio Beza fight. I think it's going to be a pretty good fight to watch. Of course, you got Ponzinibbio. He's up there in age. It seems like now they're handing him to like the young guns that are coming up in the UFC. And then so he's a guy that likes to get you against the cage. That's one of his favorite places, getting him against the cage and just doing the combinations along the cage. He's very effective there. He's got to improve like his striking defense. He's known to get hit, and when he gets knocked down, most likely he's going to lose the fight because that's what's happened in the past. He's really good at checking the leg kicks. He likes to use that low calf kick. And then you got a guy like Beza, who probably has one of the most underrated boxing skills in the UFC. Like, he's really good with it. He's a technical striker, very good hands. He tends to lead his lead hand too often, and then he tends to leave his hands low. So he could be prone to get knocked out if Ponzinibbio can time it right to where his hands are low. But I just feel like Beza's the guy to pick in this matchup. I feel like his boxing is going to overwhelm Ponzinibbio. He's going to be a name to watch in the future.
The thing about that fight is, like, Ponzinibbio came back. Like, he was a really good fighter for a long time. He had injury problems, took like 3 years off, almost 2.5 years. Came back against Lee, got dropped in the first round. He had moments early on in the round, but later in the round, Lee just kept hammering him. He clearly doesn't look like the same fighter that he was back in 2017, 2018. That said, first fight jitters. Maybe he's better the second fight out. He's still only 34, which isn't that old for the 170-pound division. But like you said, Beza is a really good fighter. He's 10-0, 7 knockouts. So that's going to be a fun fight. Who'd you say you picked to take that one, Beza?
Yeah, I got Beza, yeah.
All right, cool. Brandon, what's your pick?
You know me, man. I'm going with the ladies. I got De La Rosa.
Brandon did not want to pick the ladies. We picked his fights before he could. Just putting that out there.
No. I was going with the ladies. I'm going with De La Rosa versus Lipski. I think this is one of those strikers versus grappler kind of matches. I really think, I mean, De La Rosa has some striking, but I think she's really more known for her jiu-jitsu, while Lipski, violent queen over here, I think she just wants to get in there, take care of business and get out. So I'm going with Lipski on this one. I think she will be able to keep the fight standing up, and I could maybe see a finish in the first or second round.
It's gonna be a fun fight. Montana had that weird majority draw thing with Silva just a couple months ago on the last time Rozenstruik fought, same card. So it'll be interesting to see how this fight kind of plays out. She also lost to Rojo. Man, it's gonna be tough. I wouldn't be surprised to see Lipski kind of pull this one off. She did get knocked out by the other Shevchenko, Antonia, but she also looked really good her 2 fights before that with Carolina and Isabel. So that's gonna be a fun fight. My pick, I got to go with Young Guns. I kind of talked about him last time. The Monkey King, Jordan Levitt. This kid, 8-0. He's fighting off against Claudio Puelles. Go check out Dan's show, by the way. Dan did a whole, he's been talking about this fight nonstop. But Jordan Levitt, to me, is the next big thing. He went from being on the main card to being the opening fight of the prelims. I can only hope that's because they want to draw attention to the prelims, because this kid is you can't miss. Don't miss this kid fighting. He came out against the veteran Matt Wyman, knocked him out in 22 seconds. Couple quick shots and a slam. And this is for a guy known for his grappling. He came out with the striking and just caught everybody off guard. He's training out of Syndicate. He's out in Las Vegas. You got a lot of killers out there. This kid is going to be next. And he's fighting off against a tough kid, 9-2, Claudio Puelles, who's out of the Pitbull crew, Higo, the Pitbull brothers, all those guys. He is fighting out of Peru, so I probably should pick him. My wife's probably going to be mad I didn't pick the Peruvian. Those that don't know, my wife is Peruvian. But no, I'm taking Jordan Levitt. I think he's going to be one of the next big things over in that 155-pound division. Either one of you guys got any thoughts on that fight? Dan, I know you had some thoughts on it.
Yeah, this one was the one that I was really interested in. You told me you picked it.
Oh, yeah, I stole Dan's pick too.
Yeah, I was like, damn, because this fight's gonna depend on who can get the top when they get down, because they're both grapplers, and just in different ways. Like, you got a Levitt who likes to move around. He'd rather be on the back, I feel like, and he looks for submissions. Whereas Puelles is kind of the guy, he tries to use his weight, push forward, get you down, and then he lays on you. And then he seems very comfortable switching between side guard and front guard and just staying there, and then just a little bit of punching here, a little bit of punching there. He did have that fight with Silva where he was just getting the shit kicked out of him, and out of nowhere he gets Silva down and then submits him with that, I believe it was the ankle
knee
leg
bar.
lock. Oh yeah, the knee bar. And it, just out of nowhere to pull the fight out, the win out of his ass. But it all depends on it. Like, I keep rotating back and forth who I think is going to win. And then I do like Levitt, but I'm going to lean towards Puelles in this matchup, just for the fact that I feel like he can use his weight to put on top of Levitt. And I feel like Levitt's had problems with that. Even in the last fight that he had, I think on LFA, he was losing the fight. He did get the submission win, but he was losing the fight because he had trouble with the guy putting his weight on top of him and taking him down. And I feel like Puelles could stay away from the submissions. But if Levitt gets top guard, then I feel like he'll have the advantage.
Well, Levitt's really the bigger fighter. Honestly, Puelles usually fights at 145 pounds. So Jordan Levitt is the bigger fighter. I think that, like I said, I think the difference is that Levitt has the striking. I think he can take advantage if Puelles tries to go to the ground. I don't think he might not get there. Brandon, there's some other fun fights on this card we can talk about real quick before we get out. You were talking about off air. Latifi versus Bozer is going to be fun. Todorovic's back in. He didn't look great in his last performance, his loss against Rodriguez. Are there any other highlights on Trinaldo's back in action? What other highlights on this card kind of stick out to you?
I mean, really, you kind of said it, but I feel like really the other fight I'm really looking forward to is the Bozer Latifi fight, because Latifi he always brings it, heavyweight, light heavyweight, but Boser, man, he's been looking good. Like I said, he was on that upswing. I think he kind of took a little dip down, but now I think he's trying to bounce back though.
That's one matchup I would love to see. I would love to see Latifi and Tabura go at it. Like, I know Tabura's are a little bit higher rankings right now, but that would be such a fun fight because both guys would just come straight at it. Dan, what other fights are you looking forward to on this card?
I'm looking forward to Dolidze Staropoli. I think that could be a good matchup because they're different styles. Staropoli, of course, he's all about the volume, and Dolidze has a little bit of the like movement and then striking, but then he also he can take guys down. And I think he could take down Staropoli, but if the fight stands up and stays standing up, I feel like Staropoli, he's not going to knock you out, but he's going to put a lot of volume in, and he can outstrike Dolidze. So it all depends on what happens in the fight. If Dolidze can take him down, or if Staropoli can keep it standing up.
I think this card's going to be one of those cards. Sorry to move from the mic a little bit. I think this card's going to be one of those cards that's going to be a fun, underrated card. I think it's going to be one of those action-packed events that you don't really get really hyped about, but then you watch it and you're glad you saw it, because a lot of these UFC Fight Night cards don't get the same hype. Like next week, we got the big pay-per-view. We got Adesanya versus Vettori. We're all going to be hyped up about it. We're talking about it. The middleweight titles on the line. No titles on the line tonight, on Saturday night. But it's going to be a lot of fun fights. And if you miss it out, you're definitely going to be missing. If you're an MMA fan, there's a lot of people. You got some heavyweights. You got some lighter fighters. You got the ladies going. So you got a little bit of everything this Saturday night. Real quick, Dan, before we get out of here, go ahead and tell people. I know they tuned in a couple weeks ago to Cage My IQ, but if they're just tuning in today, tell people about Cage My IQ.
Yeah, of course, Cage My IQ. I just basically preview and review a bunch of the action with UFC, PFL, Bellator, and then one championship. Usually I do the recaps on Mondays with my buddy Miles. He has a background. He has a MMA background, not like Brandon, but more like an amateur. And then I do my previews with a buddy of mine, Jim.
Yeah, Brandon, he keeps hyping you up. I don't know why. He keeps hyping you up.
Appreciate
it. He's a good buddy of mine. We go way back, so we do that. And of course, like I told you before, I do like small clips for like the small ones like Bellator, PFL, and whatnot. But it's just a hobby of mine that I've grown into loving MMA. And then started doing like the interviews a couple of months ago, and I've been lucky enough to talk to a bunch of neat fighters and get to know them. So
that's always one of the best
check
parts.
out that Stan Fairtex one, baby.
Yep.
There you go. That's always one of the things I've always loved about doing what we do, is just the chance to have conversations with people you don't normally have. Me and Dan never met before in real life. Through MMA love and passion and Twitter and social media, here he is on our show. Brandon and I have gone back and forth over the years. We've never actually physically met face to face, but he's one of my good friends. We sit there and engage all the time. Sometimes he's not happy with me. Sometimes he is. It is what it is. But at least he didn't walk out on this show. We talked about Bareknuckle and he survived. So I have hope that he'll be back next week to talk about Adesanya versus Vettori. We'll have to see if he actually shows up or just gets mad and quits. I don't know. But before we get out of here, artofmma.com/shop, promo code Knuckles. Make sure you save 20%. We got the Legends tee. And like I said, just launched Mike Fresh, MikeXFresh.com. If you're curious, check it out. There's some awesome, all the shirts in there are vintage 50/50 premium style shirts. A little bit better quality, a little bit better everything. A lot of love and effort put into those shirts. And then, of course, the designs that we do on artofmma.com are top notch. You're not going to find those anywhere else. These legendary shirts that I came up with, Brandon's got the Kevin Randleman. Dan ordered a couple of the shirts. He's got the Bruce Lee and the Way of the Fist. What was the other shirt you got that you ordered, Brandon?
Bruce Lee. Legendary.
Yeah, he got the Bruce Lee as well. And of course, the logo tee, the signature fighters first that I wear. All of those are something that we came up with as a way to drive, I'm gonna be real, drive revenue to the site. We don't have a lot of advertising. We don't have a lot of sponsors for the show. We like to give you a nice, clean show. If YouTube wants to sponsor us eventually, feel free, YouTube. Hello. Anybody listening? Anyway. But artofmma.com/shop is a way you can kind of give back to the show and get some really dope merchandise. I'm always looking for great recommendations to do the next legendary shirt. Kevin Randleman turned out awesome. I always got to forget which way to point. There we go. That way. And then also I'm thinking about doing a couple other legends. So if you guys got ideas, leave them in the comments. Make sure you let us know what you think of the show. Let us know what you want to see in the future. We're always listening. We're always engaging. And then, of course, Brandon, what are they supposed to do to every video?
Like and subscribe and leave a comment.
All right. We've taken up enough of your time this week. Thank you so much. We'll see you next week. Jam-packed episode talking about the return of PFL, Bellator, and, of course, the UFC title picture next week with the pay-per-view. So for Dan Bakley, Cage My IQ, my man Brandon Cuttino, I'm Mike Ginn. Thank you for watching Art of MMA. We'll see you next week.
Oh, my God.